Hey guys, Patrick here at BJJ Physio. I am a physical therapist or physiotherapist and a new BJJ hobbyist. Have you ever wondered what's going on anatomically that makes you tap the different Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submissions? Well, in this video, I'm going to identify the three main reasons and the anatomy behind them for why you tap to the armbar. First, we'll take a look at a short clip of the pressures applied to achieve the armbar, and then we'll go over the three reasons why you tap. Okay, so for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the armbar, here's a short clip explaining the pressures applied to achieve the submission. First, Troy sets me up in the basic armbar, and in order to do this, he applies a downward pressure to the shoulder joint above my elbow. Now, in order to push my elbow into extension, he uses his arms and body to apply another downward pressure to the wrist joint just below the elbow. Now that my elbow is extended, he applies an upward pressure using his hips and thighs. This ultimately pushes my elbow into terminal extension and causes me to tap. Okay, so let's take a look at the number one reason why you're likely tapping to the armbar. All right, in order to see the joint a little bit better, we can see in this aerial view that it consists of three bones. Okay, I'm going to remove the ligaments here and show you the articulation of those bones. So the first bone is the humerus. By the way, whenever I click on this book here, feel free to pause for each structure and read up on that structure. The next bone is the radius, and then the ulnar. Alright, so now that gives you a better idea of what it looks like underneath the ligaments. Let's get to the first one, which is the articular capsule. Okay, this is really just a thin fibrous tissue that is responsible for kind of holding the synovial joint in place. A little bit more lateral is the radial collateral ligament, the lateral collateral ligament, running from the radius to the humerus. Now the next ligament is a weird ligament because it runs in a different kind of pattern than most. It actually wraps around the head of the radius. Its main job is to hold the head of the radius in place in different angles. And the last ligament we'll identify is the ulnar collateral ligament, or the UCL. So this ligament has a couple of fibers running in different directions. These are the anterior fibers. Then we'll move down to what kind of runs longitudinally, which is the just regular fibers of the UCL, and then the transverse fibers of the UCL. Now, for those of you who have ever heard of Tommy John surgery, this is essentially a reconstruction of those ligaments due to overuse injury or just an acute tear, most commonly seen in baseball players. Now here I want to zoom out and show you guys a little bit of the relationship anatomically and kind of biomechanically between the wrist and the elbow. Now we can see here that if you turn your palm down or palm up or turn your different angles, this actually tensions some of the different fibers of different ligaments in the elbow. And this is ultimately what you're trying to manipulate to cause someone to tap. This brings us to the second reason you're most likely tapping to the armbar, that is maximal lengthening of the muscles that cross the elbow. Right, so the muscles that cross the elbow include the biceps, broken up into two heads, the long head seen here, and then another aerial view of the short head. It's a little bit easier to see. And you can see how the bicep goes all the way from the shoulder down to the forearm. As we move further down the arm, we arrive at a group of muscles that cross the outside of the elbow. These aren't all the muscular structures, but these are the main players. We'll start with brachioradialis. And just below that, we have extensor carpi radialis longus. And we have extensor carpi radialis brevis. And the last one, just under that, is extensor carpi ulnaris. I'll let you get a better look at that there. Whoops, forgot to click the yeah. Okay, so now as we move up to the anterior portion of the forearm, we'll come around, and here's a flat structure, really an extension of the bicep, called the bicipital aponeurosis. This can actually assist in creating some tension and pulling the elbow into flexion. Now we'll move to the muscles that cross the inside of the elbow, and we'll start with the top muscle here called the pronator teres. And just lateral to that, we have the flexor carpi radialis, and then the palmaris longus, Then we have a flat muscle here that runs the span of the forearm called flexor digitorum superficialis, goes all the way to the fingers, and then flexor carpi ulnaris. Again, these are not all of the flexor pronator muscles, but it still gives you a good idea of the muscles that cross the elbow. Now let's kind of take a zoom out and look at the relationship between the elbow, the muscles that cross the elbow, and then the muscles that cross the elbow and the wrist. So you can imagine at this angle here, the muscles that cross the elbow and the wrist, as well as the ones that just cross the elbow and attach on the forearm, could be manipulated based off of the position of the wrist. So if somebody has loose or lax ligaments, muscle tension is going to be the second most likely reason that they tap to the armbar. All right, so last but certainly not least, we have nerve tension. This is going to be the third most likely reason you tap to the armbar. Now, to get a good idea of where the nerves originate, we'll zoom into the neck and see where they exit out of the spinal column. Here we have the nerve roots, and we'll go ahead and click on these here. So this is a C3 spinal nerve, and we'll just go up one more level and look at the C2 spinal nerve. And this is just a good way to see kind of the relationship between the vertebrae and the way that the nerves exit out of them. Okay, so now that we have a good idea of how they look at the level of the spine, we can zoom out, and I like to envision the nerves as a series of strings, like a web of strings that run from the neck all the way down. As you follow the arm, they weave into and out of these fascial layers and through the muscles. I left some of the muscles here just so you could see how the nerves move in and out of them. Not a lot of people think of nerves as really physical structures, but they do move, and whenever they're tension, it can be very painful. Here you see the terminal branches of the nerves down at the fingertips. So since we've seen the whole length of the nerve and how it traverses through different joints and muscles down the arm, let me go ahead and remove this here so you can get a better view. I want you to try and envision what would happen if you turn the neck to the left, like our coaches tell us to do whenever we're doing an armbar, how it pre-tensions that web of strings so that next we stabilize the shoulder and then down to the elbow and into the wrist. Lastly, I'll zoom in and show you some of the nerves that cross the top of the elbow that would be tensioned when we put it into terminal extension. So on the outside of the elbow, we have the radial nerve. Just above that, we have the musculocutaneous nerve, or branch. Then a lesser known, but still important nerve is the medial antebrachial-cutaneous nerve that gives sensation to part of the forearm. And then a little bit deeper, right across the front of the elbow, is the median nerve. So if you have good, strong ligaments and good flexibility in your muscles, the third and final reason why you would tap to the armbar is nerve tension. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you would, please like and subscribe to the channel if you want more educational content on why you tap the different BJJ submissions. And let me know down below in the comment section if you want me to do any other submissions or maybe even some other combat moves. See you guys later.